right, HBCU Legends fans, we got a good one tonight for you guys. Of course, you know this guy. He is one of the SWAC leaders out there in this day when he brought home a championship to Texas Southern, and but he knows how to play the game of football, especially from an offensive side. We got Coach Johnny Cole. What's going on, Coach?
What's going on, man? Appreciate you having me on your show. It's always good, man, to talk about HBCU football. We still not getting what we need, but hey, man, shows like yours, HBC Legend, what can you say, man?
Well, hey, man, we are here to give it to not only for us to have a good time, but for the people to be able to have a good time and learn some great stuff about what's happening in HBCU football. All right, we are expected to have Coach Bubba McDowell with us pretty soon, so he's going to be in the queue. But Coach, man, this is a big game coming down in Week 7. I know we like to talk about everything else in the SWAC, but no bigger game than to have Alabama State versus Jackson State at the vet, man, and have it there on homecoming where you have Andrew Body set up to go against Jacoby and Morgan. What's your initial thoughts?
Well, for people that don't know, man, this game is history. It's really spooky because 25 years ago I was coming in there as assistant head coach and offensive coordinator with one of the best quarterbacks in the country, as well as Jackson State under Coach Asbury had one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Robert Kent. I had Darnell Kennedy. Also, T.C. Taylor was also one of the players.
Oh,
And
really?
and the thing about it is the game ended 68-61. And
Wow.
don't say no more. Of course, I'm the one that had 68. But it's this is like history repeating itself. You got two of the top quarterbacks coming in. They from Alabama State with Andrew Body. You got Jacoby Morgan coming in, the top two quarterbacks in Black College. It's when they say history repeats itself, this is a game of the ages.
Man, I might have to go back and study that one, Coach. I didn't know you guys put up 68 points on them. But like you said, history does go around. It has a way of repeating itself, right? And when you look at this game, being the underdogs, and you guys, I'm sure it was kind of 1-2 back then as well. But when you look at a young guy like Andrew Body, who went through a whole lot, and we know the Body family very well from being here in Houston. Um, Talk about where he is mentally and what is a young quarterback thinking about going into this game?
Man, meeting a kid like Andrew Body, and I had a chance to interview him. I had a chance to talk with his parents and, of course, his father. I mean, this is a kid, man, that's extraordinary. And this is what makes him extraordinary. None of the things that he went through on the downside ever got to the kid. The kid never stopped and never doubted himself about that he is that guy. He is him. The time that he put in, I know he went through some things about his injured shoulder and everybody was down on him. You stay injured. But when you see this kid play, you'll see why that he got injured. Unfortunately, he got injured in the game that I felt like against Alabama and A&M last year or the year before. I'm
Year before
sorry.
last, right?
Yeah, year before last, when they were up. If they only just won the game, they'd have been representing the West in the championship. But the
Sure
kid
was.
didn't know it. They were up almost 2 touchdowns, and it just was a freak accident. He gets hit on the shoulder. The rest is history. But sometimes, you need to take a step back to go too forward. And I guarantee you, man, this kid is extremely, extremely exciting to watch. He sell tickets. He put butts in the seats. Alabama State will be leaning on him a whole lot this weekend.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. They will be leaning on him, but also leaning on their team will be Jacoby and Morgan. Of course, he's the leader of the Jackson State Tigers, man. And when you look at Jacoby and Morgan, he's had a tremendous couple of games back to back, being SWAC offensive player of the year and HBCU player of the week as well. Talk about him and what he means to the Tigers.
Well, this is a big game for Jacoby Morgan, because a lot of people doubted him because when he played in the SWAC championship, he wasn't there. He wasn't that guy. He had to be replaced at that time, and I'm pretty sure that's in the back of his mind. The question out is can he win the big one? Is he ready to go through 4 quarters against a opponent just as good as them? So that's the thing that's up against him, and it's him versus himself. I hope he understands that when he go in the game, relax, do what the coach. Don't force the football. Don't force yourself. I think he came back this year and he's doing the things that he's supposed to do. The thing of it is still the question mark is can he do it in the big game?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think he proved that he did do it in the big game, winning the Celebration Bowl, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He had a great game in there, but we got to consistently be that guy.
Yeah, and that's what kind of concerned me. The first couple of games that he did, he came out, he only had like 50% passing, right? These past 2 games after they made a little switch and then he went back to the Morgan, he kind of showed out and showed up for those games, right? So when you look at those 2 quarterbacks right now, how do you kind of think is going to play out?
Well, I mean, both teams has got to definitely lean on it. The thing that both of them have, and both defenses got to stop is the run game. I've watched Alabama State and Andrew Body is always a part of the run game. They more so almost running the triple option, out of a spread offense because of course, he handles the ball 100% of the time, but he always have the option to keep it. He can't get selfish. He can't get caught up in the big game. He's got to continue to take his reads because what's happening, and I've seen, if you notice, his last couple games, he only been throwing the ball 16, 17 times a game. Even though he's been completing them, he has to go in the game that way, not trying to win the game himself, but making sure that he read. On the other hand, Jacoby Morgan, he can't turn the ball over. Alabama State has a great defense, but the thing that I see there is that they got a young defensive coordinator, and this is a big game for him as well. He's been doing well. He's got a defensive front. They got people coming. I think they're real good at the linebacker position, but Jacoby Morgan has to come in, and a lot of it is on. I like to say it's on T.C. Taylor. When he gets in there and he gets to all over the field with it and keep the defense off balance. I mean, they definitely move the ball. But like I said earlier, both teams got what it takes. They got great defense and they got good run games.
Yeah,
they both can run the football.
Both can run the football, but when you look at the number 1 ranked defense, the Jackson State Tigers look like they are like gangbusters right now. They're leading in most of the defensive statistical categories. They really limit their opponents and they limit the points that go on the board at this time as well. And then you have Alabama State. Their defense is not usually what you see from Eddie Robinson Jr. defense. What's the difference there this year for those guys?
Well, you got to start at the coaching part of it. You end up losing your defensive coordinator to UAB, then you lose your secondary coach to Kennesaw State and James Williams, and you got a young guy. And the thing about it, I've coached him. He was on our Alabama State team. He was a good kid then. He was a cerebral player. He's on the learning age. The game. And to be honest, when I look at these teams, they so balanced. That's the common denominator of what's different. You know what I'm saying? You got Barnett, who's been at North Carolina A&T and been on some winning programs. He's going into a second year. Of course, Eddie now is the grandfather of the conference. Brother, he had
Yeah,
coaching
he is
experience
right.
before. He the grandfather. You can't say enough about TC Taylor and his staff. I mean, they national champions. So when you look at that, you got to go with Jackson State on the coaching end of things that they've done in the past. You know, they have the more experience in that area.
Yeah, man. But you have to wonder, right? With all the penalties that Jackson State has been racking up, they're leading the league right now in penalties. Doesn't that kind of scare you? And they've been having some penalties at some untimely situations, but they've been able to overcome. Will they be able to do that against Alabama State?
Well, you took that right off my hand because I got these stats in front of me. That's one of the things about any game that makes it change is penalties. It really penalties is like mistakes, and these two great teams they match up very well. That could very well come down to who makes the least mistakes will win a football game. Who makes the most mistakes, of course, will lose a game. That number does stick out when you do look at the stats.
Yeah, it does, man. And I think a lot of people have to be aware of who's going to be more disciplined, right? Who can be able to force more turnovers if you can force a turnover, but also, coach, who can sustain these drives, right? Alabama State, they've been striking quick, but Tigers, they lead the league in time of possession. What are your thoughts there?
More. There's three phrases of the game. There's offense, then there's defense, and there's one common denominator, and that's special teams. I think that's gotta be an emphasis on special teams. And then Alabama State, they got a punter that can flip the field. He can really get that ball off. Uh, like you say, the penalties. We got to make sure we take care of that. But both teams are actually meeting up, man. That I think besides them playing their Division One opponents, this is one of the biggest contests between them. And I think the special teams, I think uh, field position of where they taking the ball off, that we don't have to go 80 every time. Because when you look at both teams, they big play teams.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, you
they
look
are.
at Andrew Body on through for 1,000 yards. He's leading the league in rushing and passing. Jacoby Morgan had two big, great games, man, and there's outstanding wide receivers. Uh, that's the thing. Now, who's going to win the kicking battle? Who's going to win the special team battle?
Yeah, yeah. Um, what concerns me about Jackson, their special teams are not performing as well as they once would perform. I think they've had G Baby has had some issues at the kicking side himself. He's hasn't been. I think he's around less than 70%.
Mm-hmm.
And if I look at the punting is only averaging around 30 net yards, right? When Alabama State, they were netting around 37 yards per point right now. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape, so to speak, there, coach, and get your perspective here. When you look at the games played, they're even at five. Scoring, Jackson State is at 173, Alabama State 203. They're averaging 40.6 points per game. But coach, I know you will say back in the day, that's what I used to do that in one half, right?
It's funny.
I hear you, coach. I can see you working right now.
Yeah, I'm calculating them numbers.
Okay. Jackson State's averaging 34.6 points per game. Offensively, these guys are kind of even, but Jackson State has put more offensive yardage out there at 2,500 versus the 2,200 from Alabama State. And they're averaging 506 yards per game, where Alabama State 450 yards per game. Just with these initial numbers, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they extraordinary numbers. Right? These are national numbers. You
Yeah.
just don't put these numbers up and not be good at what you're doing. And they got people that can make things happen. I mean, Miller, the leading rusher over at Jackson State. I mean, he's averaging 8 yards a carry. Both they top tailbacks. And the thing about both teams, they got a plethora of running backs. Alabama State can go deep, with Hose, Claw, and Liggins. They got a whole stable. Same thing as Jackson State. But what makes Alabama State even so great, of course, the quarterback can make it happen. Morgan, on the other hand, he can extend his plays, so he's just as good. Of course, he's not the quarterback that Andrew Body is when it comes to running the ball. But if you put them against each other, throwing it, I think he has a nice touch. But these numbers, man, are off the chart, Coach. I've never been up in these numbers. You know what I'm saying? I have to give it to both office coordinator, Coach Taylor, and Coach Barnett. I mean, they actually getting it done. And
Yeah.
that means on the defense side, that means the defense is getting the ball back to them.
Yeah, definitely. And then you look at Alabama State with 26 touchdowns compared to 22 for the Tigers. Rushing yardage, man, 1,300 yards of rushing from the Tigers compared to just 1,000 for Alabama State. That's what I was talking about, that time of possession. And you talked about Ahmad Miller, man. And I brought this up yesterday. Who wants to hit those Miller boys, his brother Aubrey, and now Ahmad? Man, those boys are just huge and powerful, right? Who wants to hit this? That's a business decision, right?
Well, that's the thing, when you say about great defense and running game. I mean, when you bruising somebody and you running that ball and every time I'm touching it, I'm going 8-8. It makes throwing the ball so easy. You know what I mean? I mean, you could look at body stats. He might throw 17 passes, but it'd be 300-400 yards. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Because what he's doing is the whole thing, ride it up in there, run it, then I come over top. But both teams have definitely just been able to run the ball so successful. And when you're running the ball so successful, like my O-line coach used to tell me, you know, all 11 don't want to tackle. There's somebody on that 11 on the defense side. They don't want to tackle, and that's the guy that we got to continue to run the football at. So
that's a good point.
they 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 are both exceptionally good teams on both sides of the football.
Yeah, definitely. Look at body, 1,200 yards, right at or near 1,200 yards for both of the quarterbacks from Jackson State, and but more so for Morgan, right? And points allowed, 89 points only allowed for the Tigers, 117 for the Hornets. Game averages 23 points per game is being given up by that defense for the Hornets compared to 17.8. Could that be the difference right there? How the defensive play, or why uh, can we make an argument for or against Alabama State at this time?
Well, I mean, the national average is about 24, so both teams are right underneath that. But they've smashed some teams as well and start playing backups. So I don't know how much you can hang your hat on if you do look at it. Alabama State's defense is giving up a little more than, almost a touchdown more than Jackson State. Looking at both teams, I would give the edge to Jackson State's defense. I think
Yeah.
they're real solid in the secondary. I think they got some linebackers could run from sideline to sideline, and I think they front get after it just a little touch more than Alabama State. I think Alabama State struggles sometimes in the secondary.
Hmm.
I've seen against Bethune Cookman. I thought they could have done a better job. Bethune even opened up with almost like a 60, 70-yard bomb. But they were able to, put things back together, slow Bethune-Cookman down, because if you know anything about Bethune-Cookman, they're very explosive on the offense side of the ball.
Yeah, definitely. And also, there's an injury update where we have Jean Louis for Alabama A&M, the linebacker, their star linebacker. He's possibly going to be out for this game.
Yeah, I was looking at those top tacklers. Hopefully, they can get him back. If not, it's one thing about Jackson State. They reload. You know what I mean? They ain't got to go out and recruit. They reload. They got folks in the pipeline. And Jackson State has always been that way. I mean, since the time I've ever entered into this league, they always will be able to recruit against Southern Miss and Mississippi State and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And of course, now with the new portal, they've been doing a great job. I think TC Taylor's ahead of everybody in this conference in recruiting.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome job, awesome system. He relies on his staff, and they do a great job bringing in the top talent from across the country. Got to
Yeah.
give them kudos on that. Let's turn away from this game momentarily. Let's talk about what's happening in the SWAC, and let's go to that wacky SWAC West. An area you know so well. And guys, I just got word from Coach McDowell. He won't be able to make it for some scheduling issues, but he will be on with me tomorrow. I will have him on tomorrow. So I just want you guys to be aware of that. So, Coach, right now, your man Tremaine Jackson, the dog. He is the top dog right now in the SWAC West, 3-0 for Prairie View in his first season in the SWAC. And you have Coach Dishman of the Tigers, the Texas Southern Tigers. He said, our goal is still our goal to win the SWAC West. They're nipping at their heels, 2-1. How do you see this shaking out?
Well, I called it a couple weeks back that I felt that if Prairie View with the schedule, you got to look at their schedule. Their schedule is what puts them in a great deal. They are off this week while everybody else play this week. Nobody else can afford to lose. If any of the teams, if Texas Southern lose, UAB is struggling. Southern is struggling. If they lose this week, that puts now that for Prairie View not to win it all, they have to lose 2 games in a row. Well, when you look at Prairie View's schedule, they got the only teams they play on the West over there is Alabama State and Alabama A&M. And right now, Alabama A&M is struggling.
Why?
So now
Why
all
do
they got to do is play Alabama State. They could lose to Alabama State and win the rest and win it. So everybody now is hoping Prairie View fall off, 2 games just to have an opportunity. Texas Southern, if they lose any of these games, and see, all of them still got to play Alabama State and Jackson State.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't sleep on Florida A&M over there. And, man, I mean, Mississippi Valley is playing some good football, too. I thought they had Texas Southern.
They had the game, right?
They had the game right in their hand and overcoached, I felt, when he went for the fake field goal, 4th and 14. I don't know if he must have had a flashback when he had a helmet on. You know what I mean?
I was thinking, what was Coach Buckley thinking, man? You just kicked the ball. I know you had some snapper issues, but it was unlikely. I think the law of averages would have been unlikely you would have had to repeat there, right? Just go ahead and try it, kick the ball, put them in a bad, worse situation where they have to be, the odds are against them coming all the way down to score a touchdown.
Well, the thing about it also, too, is they called timeout before they kicked the ball. Number one.
Yeah, they did. They
Number
stopped the
two,
clock.
when
Yeah.
they did get stopped, it's 2 minutes left in the game. They still got to go 40, 50 yards for a touchdown. You jump in man coverage, 1 free, and anybody know and always knew that Texas Southern had speed on the outside.
Yeah, with Terry.
And one of those go routes was going to bound to happen, and it happened to happen. The next play, they catch the ball at the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
But, that's how it is. But I still got Prairie View. I think it's going to win the West. I don't really see anybody beating them. They're good and solid. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They play with a lot of confidence. I think Coach Jackson, of course, is my guy. And I know what he's doing over there, what he got, and what is going to become of that program under his leadership.
Coach, are you concerned about their offense? It's a little stagnant at times, and I know they were going against a pretty good defense with Alcorn, but he went back to Peters in the game.
Yeah. Well,
What's your thought there with the quarterback situation?
yeah, they do the alternation, which I don't like. I've always expressed myself to Tremaine about that, but they feel that they're better if they do the alternate. I don't really like that. I think one of the kids can stand in there and get better as he go. I don't think you can be your best playing on eggshells. So I think they're got they those quarterbacks got the arm tied behind their back. I think things is on their defense. They let their defense win games. If you see them scoring, they're not giving up a lot of points. Uh, you know, uh, and it's tough to score on what they do defensively.
Yeah.
They do a great job. Again, special teams is good for them as well.
Well, let's talk about your Tigers right quick. Your Texas Southern Tigers.
I chose my Tigers, man, as the spoiler. They the spoiler. If they run the table, I wouldn't surprise. They got some football players over there, Cal.
And
They
great
got they got
defensive
some
football
players.
players. Yeah.
Yeah, they over the top on special teams. They got two guys that can get it, and I don't see why people continue to kick to that kid.
Yeah.
I,
Lewis, he's just bad. It's a bad boy.
Yeah, I just don't know why. I don't know why they don't squib kick it or kick it out of bounds, give him the ball at the 35. I don't know what he has to do to let everybody know, man, I'm a bad boy. You know, if you
Yeah,
kick the
look,
ball,
I saw him turn that game around, and he put them in some great field position with Valley as well, man, over and over. So, but he's been doing it all year. I think he's on the brink of breaking one for the season. But if you look at that defense, the linebacking core, a week ago, all three of those young men, Charles, Bookerty, and Williams, all three were in the top tacklers of the SWAC. Have you ever seen anything like that where you had all linebackers one, two, and three?
hey, I really hadn't seen that. Either you stopping people or you ain't stopping nobody. The more offensive plays somebody have, the more tackles you got to make. Uh, I think Texas Southern got to be more explosive on the offense side of the ball. When you play FCS football, you got to score. Ain't no question. Before they went in that game, I think they were averaging about 13 points a game. And now they went up to 50. They still under the national average. Uh, and you got to score. You got to be able to put the ball up. And the thing they got to do too is stop turning the ball over. Stop making
And bad
run
penalties too.
mistakes. Ball over the quarterback's head. They faked they faked the double reverse twice in the same series, which I didn't understand. It's not my business. And the kid tried to make a play. They end up was going in, and now they back on the 50-yard line. So they almost gave that game to Mississippi Valley. So I've seen that they can't make those mistakes and win football games. I mean, against Prairie View, they had them that game against Southern last year. They had them that game
Right.
on coaching mistakes. But again, they're young coaches. They new guys to the business. I don't care what they don't play NFL on the moon, all that. I've been a head coach before. It's a tough position, and you got to be ready to make those right decisions. You can't make them as if you were a player. You can't make them if you were assistant coach. You got to make them for it to fit in of what you do and how good you are at what you're doing. So Texas Southern, they got the people. I think they got the people in place. I
Look,
think the staff has just gotta make sure those guys are going in the right direction.
yeah, Coach, you think about KJ Cooper. He's fully healthy now, right? And I saw a difference once they started getting some points on the board. They then started to allow him to be him,
Yeah,
right? To just kind of be a little bit more free. And then you have a guy like Renfro in the backfield. Plus, you have Ford and a couple other those young guys. Man, they pounded them UAPB for over 300 yards rushing that game. Why do you think this is just a style question? I guess. Why do you think offensively, or the offensive coordinator kind of holds back his quarterback?
You know, being an offensive coordinator, this is an egotistical business, and sometimes you do what you need to do to what makes you feel comfortable. But the number one thing about any offense coordinator, you gotta put your defense around. I mean, put your offense around your best players, your playmakers. If my quarterback is my guy and he can throw the football, then we're gonna be able to throw it. But we got to be able to protect too, and we got to be able to catch on the edge. I think they got some kids that they can do a lot of more stuff of playing off the edges. Everything. Because the spread is, and I'll be honest, it's like watching paint dry to me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
If you ain't doing some misdirection stuff and you ain't trips and you ain't showing this defense different formation. As you know, my brother's a defense coordinator at Clark University. We always talk. And he said, John, it's almost like we could take the same game plan week to week because everybody is inside zone, It's
Mm.
like it's seeing 2 by 2 or 3 by 1. You know what I mean? A lot of people is not playing with two backs in the backfield or tight end. So, week to week is almost so when you got players to me like Texas Southern, a Lewis kid, it's no way that Lewis kid shouldn't be touching that ball. It's no
At
way
least
that
like two or three or four times offensively, right?
no, at least, and you need to put that number up 6 or 8. You know what I mean? Some reverses, some hitches. Um, so I think you got to give the defense because what happens now when you sit in 2 by 2 or 3 by 1 the whole game, defense is almost reversed on offense. I'm gonna show you this look. I'm gonna show you this look. I'm gonna show you. I can do that because I know you 2 by 2 or 3 by 1. So if you just in two formations the whole night, I'm gonna show you 2 or 3 or 4 different looks, or I might show you one look, too high, but I'm still having calling 3 and 2 and 1. But when the defense got to line up, if a defense can just line up, defense is always already got an advantage. But when they got to see you come out with different looks and they looking around, it actually takes the coordinator out the game where he could just say, "Hey, base, 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 base." You know what I mean? Instead of when he can sit there, well, they coming out in 2 by 2. What we gonna do this time? We're gonna give them this look that. So I think you need to give these defenses more to look. I think defenses have caught up with the spread and they've caught up with the spread by personnel. And this is what I mean. Those big linebackers, when we were back in the day, they're now defensive ends where they can run and put pressure.
Yeah.
Those safeties are now linebackers. So what are you doing? We're putting all our best athletes on the football field. You might have your nice 3 technique and a nice nose, but everybody else can be able to run and make tackles in the opening. So uh, that's the kind of thing that I see, and I think you just got to
So
exploit defense.
so when you look at Alabama State and Jackson State, are they doing are they doing what you're telling
Yeah.
us that should be done? Give more different looks, different personnel, and utilizing the talent.
I see that what people doing against Andrew Body is not letting Body beat us. But it's okay because if you don't, when he ride that thing up in there, if you don't tackle that back, you know what I mean, who's going north and south, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. They letting that back come, that defensive end that they ain't blocking. He's not squeezing enough. Sometimes he's getting upfield because they want Body to hand the ball off. You gotta pick your poison. And they got
Gotcha.
to be better. And when you play in a team like that, you almost defensively got to play with a sock. What I mean by that, you got to play assignment football. That defense end got to smack that back coming down in there when he fakes that ball. That linebacker got to scrape for the quarterback. You can't have both of them going for the dive. So what people have done was make Body hand it off, and those backs they got, and that's why the talent of both of these football teams are probably the most talented in this conference by far. That's why they're doing what they're doing. The people are putting up these crazy numbers,
All
and
right.
they running the football.
Yeah, they're doing what they need to do, right?
Right.
So, okay, if you look at Southern, what's happening with those guys?
Once again, on the defensive side of the ball, I think they're pretty solid. They got one of the best guys coming off the defense end. I can't think of his name now.
Givens.
Gibbons, yeah, Gibbons. Uh, I think they're solid. I think where they hurting it is offensively. Once again, we got two quarterbacks coming in. One kid don't know. Every time they throw a ball, if it's incomplete, they look over the sideline to see if they're gonna come out. They got a tailback. When we talk about
Whew,
personnel,
yeah,
Holly
Holly.
is he's unreal. There's no way that kid should be touching the ball 20 times a game. No way. And I
What do
hear
you think his
something
numbers should
about
go up to 30?
no, he should touch it 20. Right now, he's only
Well,
touching the 10.
oh
And
man,
when you look at his touchdowns, shoot, they 60 and 70 yards.
yeah, and
And
he just breaks through that defensive front like it's nothing.
and he's a transfer from LSU. I hear that he takes himself out the game, so that means that in practice you're gonna have to run sprints at the end of the game because we need you in the game. I don't need you over on the sideline. I need you in the football game. And I
Really?
guarantee you, if they up his touches from 10 to 20, they'll be hard to deal with. They'll
Yeah.
be able to keep that defense off the field. Right now, they're doing a lot of 1, 2, 3, and out. The numbers they got is not impressive. They're giving up 184 points, against conference play. I mean, I'm sorry, that's overall. Uh, that's too many. That's too many. And
Did you think there was going to be a dramatic change from the way Mark Frederick was calling the game to Coach McNair?
no, I've been a part of McNair's uh, career. He just was a receiver coach back in the 15, 16, 17. Then when he became the head coach, he had a guy named Fred Carr. So he really haven't really been in that position. Not to say he can't do it. I'm not saying that. But it's a difference between being in the game and on the sideline of the game, if that makes sense.
Okay,
So it's going to be a challenge. I think it's going to be a challenge. I mean, what do? He came in on that staff, not with that staff, meaning
gotcha.
he had to learn as he go. So do he change the offense and do what I do, or do we take what they've done and make it his? One thing I know, I used to play against him. Shit, coach, he could go from quarterback to wide out to tight end. So ain't no question about Fred McNair knows football.
Yeah, he does definitely. And let's take a look at the schedule for Week 7. You got the Bulldogs hosting the Delta Devils. Who wins that one?
Man, I tell you, A&M, man, got a hole in the bag, man. I mean, they started out real good. The top quarterback, if he can come back and be healthy, and Brown, I'm going to go with A&M outscoring the Delta Devils. Both
All
defenses need some work.
Now we don't even know if this game is going to play because I think Lincoln canceled the previous two games
Yeah,
that they did have. But Cedric Thomas said, "Whoever comes, they come." That's what
yeah.
we're going to play
Uh,
on the reservation.
I spoke with some administration over there at both places. They got pretty beat up the last 2 weeks, but they got some guys back, and so they gonna come down and actually stay a week in Mississippi
Really? Okay.
because not only do they play Alco for the homecoming, they got to come back the next week and play Valley for theirs. I,
Interesting.
I, I think I think our conference got to do better. They got to do better than that. We got to stop. I get it. Everybody want to win homecoming. I do. I get it. But some people likes to come and see a good football game too.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I have to applaud Coach TC Taylor. When they put this schedule together, he said he and AD Robinson talked about having Alabama State for their homecoming because it was competitive. the last time, and they beat us last time. So let's get some get back. So that's pretty good for those guys. The Wildcats, I say Bethune Cookman is improving. I think this game, in my opinion, will go the Wildcats' way over Southern. What's your thoughts?
I think they can outscore Southern.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been putting points up. Are they improving? I think defensively they're horrible. Uh, I just watched them again against Alabama State, and it was like running through wet paper. It's like running
Oh,
through a wet paper bag. So I don't know if that's improving. I know one thing. You know, I know the coach. He leave his first team in from the time the game start to the time in. He said, well, we might not win, but we're gonna be excited. So I get it. He on survival mode. As I say at the end of my show, he at the end of the rope. He don't tie the knot, and he holding on tight. You know,
for dear life.
yeah, he putting up big numbers again. Uh, Southern, if they don't get Holly into that running game, man, it could be a long night. And Southern needs this win. Coach Graves needs this win to stay relevant.
Yeah. All right. And you've got the Rattlers hosting NCCU. Trey Oliver, Chris Mosley, Walker Harris. Ooh, that's got to be too much for the Rattlers, right?
The Rattlers are struggling. They struggling again in year two. They can't score. They can't move the ball. Once again, they got trouble stopping the run game. Coach Cozy's got to do a better job over there. Uh, they not the Rattlers of old. You know, Rattlers of old. You always feared them. You know, and unfortunately, that's not happening. North Carolina Central. I just talked to Trey Oliver uh, 2 days ago. You know, I'm gonna bring his. Remember, he had a great quarterback named Pee Wee. I'm gonna bring him on my show next week or week after. But North Carolina Central's rolling, and they for real.
Yeah. They're the real deal, man. And having to play that game against, was it East Texas last
Yeah,
time?
yeah. I talked to Trey. He said, "Coach, I started putting people in the game out the stands." He said he had them like
Oh, my
52
God.
to. He said, "So don't make it look like they came back because it never was a game." I said, "Okay, I
All
guess."
right, all
Yeah,
right. The Golden Lions, I think they have a homecoming against the Ravens, so that should be pretty interesting there. And we're just going to skip over the feature game. Let's talk about Texas Southern going to play in Eddie G. Robinson Stadium at homecoming. I think this is what Gramblin's homecoming, right?
yeah. It's Gramblin's homecoming. Uh, this is a very very pivotal game. Whoever loses this game is out. They out. All right. Prairie View has beat both of these guys. So whoever loses this game is they out. You know, I know
Okay.
things can happen, and I hear people. Of course, I'm a little biased because I believe in Tremaine Jackson, not just because I think he's a good guy. I know he's a great coach in coming. So whoever loses this game, man, is bye bye. All you doing is playing for tomorrow. You know,
Bye, bye, bye.
yeah.
All right. All right. Let's go in and let's kind of wrap this up. We're going to talk about the big game again. And let's see here. Get you situated, coach. There we go. All right, Coach Cole. And before we get more into the SWAC, let me just get your quick thoughts on what's happening in the MEAC right now. Deshaun Jackson and those guys, they're playing their homecoming up there. How do you just quickly assess his coaching thus far as a rookie head coach?
Yeah. I hate that the MEAC is down to 6 schools. I would hopefully they can add some schools and they get opportunity to play 5 different and sometimes different 6 different teams before they even get to their conference. So you just be sitting there waiting. What we gonna do? Are they really good? Uh, Deshaun Jackson, I'm sold. I think
Okay.
he's came in and done a great job. I like the way his team carried themselves. They fight and they play hard. I like the way they look. They look like, they come on the field. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They got a good offense. They've been putting up some good numbers. But once again, they don't play two Division two teams. Albany State, which I know, and they also lost to Sacred Heart and Mammoth. Mammoth putting up about 49 a game.
Yeah.
So they lost to the teams they supposed to lose to, but they won. They beat the teams they were supposed to. But
Well,
Delaware State, any win was good. That's why it looks good.
yeah.
So our
Well, they're
expectation.
scoring. But think about this, coach. Even on those other teams in the FCS, they've been scoring.
Yeah, no question, no question, no
Yeah.
question.
All right.
Right,
Norfolk
and that's
State.
why I was just saying, for Delaware State to be winning any and beating anybody, it's a jump. So my
Yeah.
hats off go to Deshaun Jackson and his coaching staff.
Well, let's go and talk about Norfolk State right quick. Another rookie head coach, high profile head coach with Michael Vick. What's your quick thoughts and assessment there?
I know that I'm a little hard. I think Mike is not getting it done. I think Norfolk ain't no better than they were last year or the year before, the year before. Um, I think he's got to get a little more enthusiasm, coach. I mean, if he don't care and he don't want to be there, I wish he would move on. I know I'm out of place maybe to say that. I wish he would show more
Okay.
energy and more thoughtfulness of being in that position. Because I'm a black
You think
college
he's
graduate.
distracted trying to do other things
Well,
outside
I
of
don't know, but I'm a
the
black
program?
college graduate, and I'm offended when somebody don't take a job, have taken a job from another HBCU guy, and not loving it like we love it. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, if I could have stayed in coaching, I wouldn't have never left Black College because that's what I wanted to be the next Eddie Robinson or the next Marino Cassie or Casey, and he has that job, and I just don't think that he look at it like that. When Dion came in, Dion wanted to be there. He wanted to be a good head coach. And when I don't see that from him.
Okay.
Dion, wherever you've seen him, he had a J hat on, he had Jackson State on. He really represented. I don't see that, and to me, that's how his team play.
Okay.
They make a lot of mistakes.
They do.
They
Yeah.
don't look like a team that's well coached. They come up with white sock, black sock, 7 tiles. You know what I'm saying? They look like a ragtag organization, and I think he can do better. And I
Okay.
hope he hears this, and I hope that it gets to him that he needs to show a better representation to me of Norfolk State University.
All right. Good stuff. Now, Larry Scott looks like he's been surprising some people out there in the MEAC. Do you think he could play spoiler in some of these games ahead?
You said Larry.
Larry Scott over at Howard.
Oh, Howard is that's that academic school over there, ain't it?
All right, let's go on, Coach. I ain't gonna mess with you.
Hey, they produce doctors. So
I'm not gonna mess with you. No,
hey,
let's go on,
any
Coach.
any
Let's go on.
weekend, all them doctors, them smart kids they got can get together and beat you. So don't
All
think you
right,
just
Coach, man. All right, and of course, Chittisberry, South Carolina State. They've been having some little hiccups. They let Southern Charleston defeat those guys in 14 tries. And do you think something else is going on there, Coach?
what's going on is welcome to Division I Double A football. You know what I'm saying? Coach does a great thing. He works hard every day, and he's just running into some matches. He lost a big time quarterback. When you do that, it's hard to try to dig back in. But don't count them out. Once again, shit, we in the midfield and they ain't played a conference game yet.
Yeah,
You
isn't
know
that
what I
something?
mean?
Yeah.
So you can't count them out. All they got to do is win one and beat North Carolina Central. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's going to come down to that. If they beat North Carolina Central, they win the championship.
All right. Morgan State. What's going on with Coach Wilson?
Coach Wilson, outstanding defensive guy. When you have those defensive head coaches, that's all they can think of. Coach Wilson, you got to get somebody over there that can call some plays, man. That can dial it up. You can stop people, but you know what? What? How Jackson State is going to really win this game is to keep Andrew Body off the football field.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes a good offense is a good defense.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying to Morgan State. Coach Wilson got to go find somebody who can dial those plays up, man, and score some points.
All right, cool. We got this from Tiger Talk, those guys over there with Ken Clark and those guys. The conference record since the SWAC expansion just happened. Jackson State's at the top and Prairie View on the west. They've been at the top. Is that surprising to see?
No. When Bubba McDowell was at Prairie View, he did some good things. But let's talk about the bottom. Pine Bluff has been bad.
Mm.
Grambling is the biggest surprise. You know what I mean? And that's sad to say. When you don't have a Grambling State football team, that's a black eye. Texas Southern been in the middle at 14 wins. I mean, we've hired all these Division 1A coaches. We pay the most, but we're not getting the result that we see, winning 14 games. Yeah. Alcorn has always been great. Southern has always been good. Prairie View is the team that came out of the dark and started coming up. But Grambling is the one. Texas Southern, Pine Bluff has always been to the bottom. Valley over in the West East, they are who they are. But Bethune-Cookman surprises me. Sitting there in the Mecca of Florida, one of the best recruiting hotbeds in the country, you got to be able to do better than 9 games.
Yeah.
Alabama A&M has always been right there. They are a solid football team. Any given Saturday, they can beat you. You know what I mean? They always been solid. Alabama State, FAMU, Jackson State, what can you say? They've been the best 3 football teams and 3 football programs in our conference in, I want to say, the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, good. Guys, I have Coach Eddie Robinson up here for a reason. The past, I think it was October 5th. Yeah, not the 4th, but the 5th. Made it 40 years since he broke Paul Bear Bryant's record in coaching to become the all-time winningest head coach in college football. And you've had a chance to know Coach Robinson yourself there, Coach. Just talk about how significant that was.
I was blessed, man, to be selected to represent Texas Southern football when I was a player on what we used to call the SWAC tour. What was the SWAC tour? We all would meet up at one place, and each team would bring 2 players. I had the opportunity to hang out with Willie Todney, Jerry Rice, and Jackie, just a plethora of all American football players. But what made it so sensational to me was the coaches sit in the front of the bus and we sit in the back. And I used to sit closer to the coach. You're talking about Eddie Robinson, Marino Castle, W.C. Gordon, the gunslinger, my coach, Lionel Taylor, and just hear them jaw jack back and forth about old days and how you get stuff done. And one of the things that Eddie said was, what's going to mess up our conferences when we get too many people that's in our conference making the decisions that had never put a helmet on. So I don't know if our conference is where it should be or where it could be. I want to take my hat off right at this moment to take my hat off to the commissioner and to get the SWAC TV. I mean, man, I love it, Coach. It gives me a chance to sit down on my Sunday, man, and I ain't got to worry about the NFL. I can just watch college football, all the games, man. I can't say enough about how important it is. And I think every black person
need to download.
Need to download that computer. Black person, student, anybody, just download it so we can get the numbers up where they can go out and get more money for commercials. But
and that's and guys, what Coach just said is true. We've got to support it, got to download it, got to use it, because that advertising dollars is how they're going to keep rolling. They
But
have a bill they have to pay every month
right.
to be able
See,
to host that technology. You
and see
got to
you.
be able to get on there and help support the app.
Yeah, and the great thing about it, you ain't got to go to the game. You should go to the game if you local, but if you don't, you don't even have to go to the game. All right, now you can do it. Take you 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes to get that app, and hopefully we can improve the app. Of course, it needs a little improvement,
Yeah.
but man, it's wonderful for me, man. I mean, sometimes I referee on Saturday, and then I could just sit Sunday and I could catch up and watch all the games and evaluate. I like to evaluate.
Yeah, and you do a good job evaluating, sir. Let's see here. Mr. Jackson says super facts. Guys, if y'all have any questions for Coach, put it in the chat so we can be able to have him to answer those questions before he gets off the air here. Coach, here's some of the offensive leaders for Jackson State. You got Jacoby Morgan, Ahmad Miller, like we talked about, and Mr. Gardner at wide receiver. That should be Jameel Gardner, not Janeel. I thought in looking at the receiving core, we would have had Rembert, or we would have had someone else at the top. But Gardner, is said that he's the fastest guy on the team.
Well, if he's faster than Remember, whew, shit,
Think
he
about that.
taking off. he flying. But and I was wondering where Remember was in that quarterback thing. He's only caught 17 receptions for 244, but you could see the difference in Wimbert and those guys. Wimbert is averaging 24 yards a catch. And
Wow.
that's what makes him so great. You know what I mean? Valley used him all kind of ways, came out the backfield, motioning, gave him jet sweeps, screened him. So he was a one-man wrecking crew. Now he comes with all this other talent, so the ball is spread it a little more.
Yeah.
But as you say, Dupree got 16 catches, and Gardner it looks like he's the go-to guy with 23 catches. But Gardner seems like he's the more possession guy at 11 yards a catch than the two.
Yeah. And he's a smaller guy, too. That's what was kind of shocking to see these stats. But, guys, those wide receivers, just like the wide receivers of Alabama State, they could be able to bring it and they could stretch that field. And we're talking about Jalen Jones, who has 430 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns already on this season. And Andrew Body, of course, 1,300 passing yards, 18 touchdowns. That's 69.5% completion rate there.
Which is
That's surprising.
which is off the chart, man.
Yeah.
For a good
Yeah.
college kid. I mean, he's doing an exceptional job because if you can remember, everybody was like he couldn't throw the long ball. I've seen him his freshman year. I seen him the first day he played against Baylor. That he did have a issue, but like I open up the show with is how this kid has put the time in and gotten better and his numbers speak for themselves. I mean, he right now give him the MVP trophy of the conference. I mean, there's nobody close to him. He's 1,000-yard passing, 330-yard rushing. I mean, he's doing an exceptional job of protecting the football at Alabama State, and that's the number one thing of
0 interceptions, right?
Not one interception. That's right now. That's he probably the only quarterback that's taking a snap that ain't threw an interception.
Yeah, at this point in the season, correct. He leads the whole conference in all-purpose yards. And Andrew Body, got to say it like that, Coach. He's going to make those Tigers kind of shake. That's what we hope. But those Tigers have something to say about it. And thank you to Mr. Jackson for your super sticker. Appreciate it. So it's the support of HBCU Legends, man. The Jackson State defensive guys, top tackler, Quincy Ivory, 37 tackles, 4 sacks. Man, that guy is a disruptor. That's a great way to put it, right?
You know what I like about and I'll get to Jackson State. He gonna need all them 37 tackles and all them sacks to slow Andrew Body down. And what I like about the offensive coordinator, he don't let Body just sit on a target. And Body is better when they move him off his target.
Yeah, he
So
is.
he does some nice things with the faking and putting him on the bootleg, taking half of the field. So Jackson State is going to have to take half of the field away from him, and make him play the whole field. But I think the kid Body can do. I think Body can do both. You know. So hold on, coach. Yeah, I think that Jackson State is going to have to push up the field. Keep they front got to push up the field. Don't try to get behind Body. Keep Body in front of you. You know what I mean? Keep him in front. Stay in your lane. Stay defense in front of your lane because when he get loose, he can get loose and cause you some problems.
Yeah, he sure can. We got a little update here from Mr. Kilpatrick. He says Jean Louis is not in the boot and will know by game time if he plays or not. We shall see how that goes. And Mr. Jackson also concurred with you. SWAC TV is the best thing for the conference. All right. Sounds good, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Coach, I got to say it like this, man. If you look at everything and everything you're telling me and everything I've heard thus far, I'm still not convinced that Alabama State can't win this game. Are you?
Oh no, not a doubt. If I was a bet man, I would take off this week because both of these teams, man, is matched up evenly. When I look at Jackson State's front compared to Alabama State's front, that goes to Jackson State. I think linebacking crew is even. I think in the secondary, I got to go with Jackson State. I think their secondary is a lot better, a lot more mature than Alabama State's is. Alabama State has lost, I want to say 2 or 3 defensive backs. I think 2 of them is in the NFL right now. They
Yeah,
lose their
Isaac.
defensive back
Yeah,
coach. Not saying
right.
the guy that's coming behind him can't coach, but when you lose that, that's something. One of the it's not a comedy denominator. One of the things about Alabama State is they got a new defense coordinator. I might have said that earlier in the show. So this is a big game for him. Is a kid that I coached at Alabama State. So this is a big time game. He's been in big time games himself, being on the staff. But when you got the mic in your hand, you got to really get it done.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, Jackson State's in the staff. You got to give that over to Jackson State. They've been coming out for the national championship game. They've been in these big games. They've been in big time. You got homecoming. You're at home. You don't sleep in your own bed. You're comfortable. Where Alabama State had to travel. But there's one man and his name is Andre Body. You got to say it, Coach.
Body.
He's a game.
Andrew Body.
I'm sorry to say, he's the best football player going to be on that field on Saturday.
Yeah. I think when it comes down to this game, Andrew, if the offensive coordinator as well as Eddie Robinson Jr. just lets Andrew Body be Andrew Body, you can see one exciting game. That's all I'm saying. If you just let him be him, you will see an exciting game. Now, will it be a trying game? I think it will. And I think it's going to be a closer than what people think is going to be. But you're going to see some offensive production, but you're going to see some good defense as well in this game. Coach, all I got to say also, if the Sonic Boom from the South start playing JSU Rock You, you know you're in trouble. That's all. That's all I will say there. When you start hearing that JSU, you're in trouble.
Rock the house.
Yeah.
But I tell you, if history repeats itself, and like I said, it has. It's the 25th year that the last time that both teams had the number one and number two quarterback in the conference. Alabama State won 68-61. Fortunately, I was the offensive coordinator, assistant head coach. T.C. Taylor was a player. So there's some
Some
things that's going
symmetry
on
there.
there,
Yeah.
and the football gods, and maybe Alabama State will pull it out.
Hold
Like,
on. I got Coach Robinson's number right now. Let me text him and make sure he gets that plane ticket ready for you. That's all I'm saying.
well, I had
We
Darnell Kennedy on my show last week, and we talked about the game, and he remembered it just like it was yesterday. 68 points. How many is that when you
68
score about
points.
7 touchdowns or more?
That's 8 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
you
more.
guys y'all were hitting it,
Yeah.
Coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's going to be a great game, all in all. Look, TC Taylor said something in the Monday SWAC press conference, and I thought this was very key. And I want your thoughts on this. He said something to this nature like the SWAC in HBCU football needs to have a game like this played where it's a good game, a clean game for all FCS to see what's happening with HBCU football. What's your thoughts?
This is what HBCU used to be when I came in, and of course before I came in the 60s and 70s, where all the players was at. And then, of course, I got an opportunity to play against All Americans and NFL guys all the way through. It was great games every week. I mean, you go back to the Mississippi Valley Alcorn game, over 66,000 in the vet
At the vet,
stadium.
yeah.
You know what I mean? All that was in the 80s. You always, the conference always had Jackson State Southern, sometimes Texas Southern. I think attendance back in them days, we always was up in the top 10. Almost all the schools. So, with these two teams, with the athletes they got, with the coaching staff they got, we're getting back there. We're trying to get back there, and we need games like this. And with the television and getting these kids to see at HBCU schools, man, it ain't what they say. Now these HBCUs got 2 and 3 different helmets. You don't walk around. You got 2 or 3 pair of game shoes. The uniforms is just off the chart these days. You know what I'm saying? We got some known coaches in there: T.C. Taylor and Eddie Robinson and Terrell Buckley and some of these greats and Tremaine Jackson. We need to get back there. And these athletic directors, when they start choosing these coaches, man, they got to go out and start choosing coaches. Not your friends, not somebody that you like, not some guy that he's quiet and I might can tell him what to do. God, we need to go out and get some football coaches. Like T.C. Taylor. We had Bruce Eugene on. Who doesn't know who Bruce Eugene is?
Why isn't he employed in the SWAC?
Exactly. Darnell Kennedy. I'm bringing on Leon Murray, who was up for the Heisman at Tennessee State. These guys need to be in our conference. These guys help put people in the seats. When you know somebody, that's the one thing, when I was a head coach, people ask, Coach, why was you everywhere? Yeah, because I know our people like to put their hands on you, Coach. You know what I mean? They like to touch you. That's how we are and who we are.
Yeah.
And where was I at? I was where the people were. Clubs, grocery stores, in the church. You know what I mean? I went at Legion Fields. You know what I mean? You got to go to these places. The jukebox, the jukebox. That's where our people are. That's who we are. We always been that way. So we got to be able to meet our fans halfway. And with this SWAC TV, man, again, to the commissioner, Mr. McCullen, I mean, man, my hat's off to you, buddy. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
We need these kind of games, and now we be able to have them on our show, on our TV, and I think that's big. I think that's real big.
All right, Coach. Prediction time.
I knew it.
Who you got?
Woo! You know, my heart is still in Montgomery with my house down there. My brother live in Montgomery. Uh, you know, when you look at the numbers and look at the stats, you know, it edges Alabama State over. But when I watched Jackson State today, and I watched them against Tuskegee again, I watched Alabama State. The game's gonna be won in the trenches. You got to keep body uh, contained in there. Let him beat you with his arm. He likes to throw the deep ball. But is Morgan ready for the big times? Is Morgan ready for the big times? I got Jackson State in the close.
Oh, all right, coach is going with JSU. It's going to rock you at homecoming, and I can't argue against it, coach. I can't argue against it. But my heart, and I can be all wrong as outdoors. I'm going with the Body family. I'm going with Andrew Body on this one, man. Pulling off
See,
the David and Goliath. It's going to be a good one.
it's unfair to me because I got to make a coach's decision.
Yeah.
If I had to make a feel good mistake, I can't say enough about Andrew Body and the family, and to see that kid come from what some people seasoning the injury to
Yeah.
where he is today, man. I can't say enough about Andrew Body and what he has he done for our conference. And same thing with TC Taylor, great coach. You know, he swag. Eddie Robinson swag. You know what I mean? I mean, man, this
What
game got
more
so
do you
much.
need, right?
Yeah, this game is like fruit punch, man. You know what I'm saying? They got swag and one or two top quarterbacks in the nation and great
Top
run,
defense, top
yeah,
offense,
yeah, great running back. They got a plethora of running backs, a
talent
plethora of
all
wide
around.
receivers that can get it done.
Yeah.
Man,
It's hard. It's hard to pick. Yeah, yeah. I know on paper I would have to say Jackson State. My heart is saying I think is we're gonna have a dethroning of the king.
I think Jackson State will win because of their defense.
Okay. I
As
just
they
think
say, I
something
take that
just
whole
tells
thing
me this is kind of
defense.
it's gonna go down to something close. And it's gonna go down to some turnovers too.
Right. Oh no, ain't no question. Turnovers, discipline, penalties, and most of all, the edge go to Alabama State on special teams.
Yeah, yeah.
But that kid Renberg, he waiting to
Whew,
bust out. Every time he
yeah.
touch it, he go 24 yards.
And what you said about Alabama State's defensive backfield makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if he's going to have a couple of big ones
When I
down
when I
the
when I
field.
yeah when I seen Jones is a little guy. He's not a big receiver. And see, they got the big defensive backs at Jackson State. They can cover those guys up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. George says Jackson got too many weapons on both sides of the ball and awesome depth. Jackson stayed in the walk 48-24. Book it. All right.
Woo!
He's saying book it. Look, guys, even if it's a Jackson State win or Alabama State win, I think the conference wins. And that's what I want to see because I think we're going to have a great representative coming out of either the East or Prairie View could be that representative. But I
Right.
just think offensively, man, if you want to hang with NCCU, you're going to have somebody who could be put up some points
Wow, man,
in the
you
Celebration
almost
Bowl.
yeah, you almost the national championship coming down to three teams:
Yeah,
North Carolina Central, Jackson State, and Alabama State.
yeah. Yeah, I have to agree with you this on that one, man.
I'm just calling it like I see it. I know I might be hurting some hearts and some. I'm just calling it now, but that's the sad part about because that's the disparity, and the
Hmm.
disparity shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't
But
be
I
that.
think things are getting better, Coach.
Yeah, yeah,
Things are getting better,
yeah.
and we see it in this 2025 class of football in HBCUs. I'm Kyle T. Mosley. Coach, tell everybody how they can follow you on the World Wide Web as well as your show with Rocky Miller.
Of course, Facebook, also Cold Blooded Nine. Um, find me on the Coaches Show. My podcast come on every Tuesday with my two fellow mates, Steve Campbell, Rocky Miller, the HBCU Coaches Corner. And sometimes we do it during the week, and chime in on JME, on Roku TV, on YouTube. Um, I'm kind of everywhere, but I want to thank everybody for tuning into our podcast, HBCU Coaches Corner. We had 2 million views last year, so in our first year. So we're looking to improve that and move that forward. Appreciate you. Thank you. If you want me on, you always can reach me at johnnycole.tsu. You can
Johnny
email me,
Cole.
johnnycole.tsu@gmail.com.
All right. That is the incomparable Johnny Cole. You can always find me on HBC Legends at HBC Legends on all social media platforms, or you can go to our website for Sports Illustrated at hbculegends.net. And you can also try to follow this old guy at KTMOZE on social media as well. Coach, thank you so much. It's always great to have you. You family. You can't get rid of us. You know that. And man, H Town in the morning to Jacktown. Oh, he's gonna be on the road. Whoever JSU Tigers is, be safe out there. Okay, and have a good time at homecoming, where the Jackson State Tigers will be hosting Alabama State. Andrew Body, Jacoby Morgan, TC Taylor, or will it be Eddie Robinson Jr.? It's going to be a good one. We'll talk about it next week. All right. You guys have
Thank,
a good one. Thank you,
thank you.
Coach.
Thank you for having
Take
me on the
care.
show.
You're welcome, sir. Anytime.